Hi everyone, Sudi here. In this video, I'm bringing you an inner monk build, and this time we're looking at an inner water variation. Now this build is exceptional for going really quick, and it's a really good just chill and really good speed farmer. What you see in the screen here is me doing Gear 110s in about a minute, and this is where this build really shines at going really quick. So it's really good if you want to farm from primals, and it's also a super easy and really simple build. So how does this build work? It is very simple actually. All you want to do is keep your serenity and your epiphany on cooldown, and then it is just a matter of dashing around trying to find elites, and of course keeping your focus and restraint going by using your Cyclone Strike and your Wave the 100 Fist. And we're of course playing with the water allies. So just make sure they are always waves, and you do this by just simply casting the spell again. Now this build here is designed to be able to kill everything and just pass, and you should only really have to stop for elites and use a Cyclone Strike on it. It's a very simple and nice playstyle, and you get used to it in 10 minutes. So where does the damage come from? So of course we're using the inner set, and it's all about just buffing your misstack allies. By having this 6 piece here, we get a 30% 1000 damage increase. Now that's just by the 6 piece alone. Of course we then also have other multipliers. For the soul shards in our weapon, we have the Dregs of Lies, and of course here we want cold damage, deal more damage, and we're also using the one where you have this fluctuating damage buff that goes from 0 to 100. This is just gonna go automatically and give you a ton of damage for your pet. For the helmet soul shard, using the Sliver of Terror, and of course here we're using the ones so you get damage per skill on cooldown. We're also then using so you get attack speed and crit chance as well per skill on cooldown. And on this one you of course want dexterity. By just getting the basic setup and maybe an ancient weapon or two, this build can easily blast tier 100s even if you are like 600 paragon. So this build is basically perfect if you want to just really farm gear. Also if you're playing another class and you want to reroll to a monk, this is the perfect starter build for you. Now when you reach the point where you want to start doing some higher grades, I really recommend checking out the video in the corner now, as I also have a build guide for the 5 version of this build where you can blast tier 130s in about 2 to 3 minutes. Now let's look at the gear, shall we? For the first weapon we are using an Echoing Fury. This gives us a ton of movement speed and also attack speed, which is really nice. And the cool thing about Echoing Fury is that it always rolls with percent damage and attack speed, and then we just simply want to roll the main stat to cooldown reduction. And for the other weapon we're using an Indium. Of course here the most important thing is getting a high secondary, so get 9 or 10 seconds, and after that you want cooldown reduction and percent damage, and of course also something like attack speed if it's possible. For the wings you want crit damage and crit chance, and then a flat damage roll or attack speed will be the best option here, or dexterity if you're still early or you don't have anything better like myself. For the gloves you want dexterity, crit chance, crit damage and cooldown reduction. For the shoulders you're using all kill shoulders, and you want dexterity, vitality, cooldown reduction and misstack ally damage. For the helmet you want dexterity, vitality and crit chance. For chest piece you want dexterity, vitality and misstack ally damage. Now the build is all about just getting a ton of toughness, so here you want dexterity, vitality, all resistance and percent life. On the pants you want dexterity, vitality and all wears. On the boots you want dexterity, vitality, all resistance and armor. For the amulet we're using Scourge amulet, and here you ideally want elemental damage and crit chance, but the most important factors here are the elemental damage and the critical hit damage. For the braces you want cold damage, crit chance and dexterity. Now I would also recommend getting a decent amount of pickup radius. So for instance I have 8 here, that's decent, but you ideally want something like 10 or 12, just so you don't have to really worry about the globe. Now I do also quickly want to mention that in my build here I am using the coolest boost crypt, and then I'll have the binding of the Zagard in the cube, but it of course always depends on which one you have with the best secondary. So if you have the best coolest boost, of course equip it like I have here, but if your braces are better, then you want to swap it around. So you would have the coolest boots in the cube, you would have the braces equipped here, and then you would have this inner piece be an all kill piece, and then you would have the inner boots on. So it's basically the same setup, but it allows you to change out the boots versus the braces in terms of which one you have with the highest secondary. For the legendary gems, we are using Bane of the Trap for massive damage increase. We're using Enforcer to buff our pets even more, and yes, this also counts for our mystic allies. We're using Bane of the Powerful for even more damage to the elites. For the cube, we're using Messersmith's Weaver. This combined with our dash is why this build is so quick. With this setup here, it basically feels like you always have a channeling pylon, which is why this build can do GS in about a minute. Of course, as I mentioned before, bindings of the Zagard in the cube, in the armor slot. And of course, for dual piece, using the Ring of Royal Grandeur, this allows us to have 2 piece all kills and 5 piece inners, and still gain the effect of both sets. For the skills, we're using Wave the 100 Fist. This is to give us attack speed and proc our focus and restraint. Of course, using the Misstack ally with water ally. Make sure to use this quite often so they're always in their blue wave form. Using Cyclone Strike to proc our braces, our focus and restraint, serenity to get immunity. Now we're also using Dashing Strike with Quicksilver. By having this with 3 charges and then also the Messersmith's Weaver, this is really nice. We're using Epiphany with Desert Route for damage reduction. For the passives, we're using Relentless Assault for 20% more damage. We're using Beacon of Yidar for even more cooldown reduction. Now I'm also playing with near death experience because I'm playing hardcore, but if you're playing softcore you can easily swap this to something like Unity for even more damage. And for last passive, Seize the Initiative for massive damage increase. I also quickly want to show you another setup, so if you want to go a bit higher but a bit slower, You can do this one instead, so using Flying Dragon in the cube instead of the Mrs. Weaver. This should allow you to go about 5 GR tiers higher, but it should be a bit slower, but not too much. But I really like going quick, so I prefer the Mrs. Weaver. But you also have the other option of the Flying Dragon. For the follower, we have the focus, so we gain access to all skills. This allows us to get 10% elemental damage, 10% cooldown action from these skills down here. And we of course also want a flavor of time and nemesis braces to really get the maximum benefit of all the partners within the rift. Check out one of the 2 videos on the screen now for even more amazing Diablo guides, and I'll see you over there. Peace out, everyone.